Hello, this is Richard Burdick, and I've been a professional French horn player for most of my life, and middle of my time in high school I started writing music. I found that being in the mid-70s, following up with the avant-garde ideas of the 1960s, maybe late 50s, but really consider the 1960s in music composition, where things got very free, experimental, improvisatory. I found that you can't just have no limits. And in the process of exploring in my teenage years, I did some graphic notation, which I really enjoyed, and lately I've realized some of those graphic notations in standard notation so that people can read it normally and not have to work too hard at lining things up, which is what it takes in graphic notation. A lot of times you play when someone else plays and right after someone else, etc. Really, oh, by the way, this is an introductory video for a new site, which I'm really kind of excited about, because there's a lot of beliefs and philosophies and various things behind music that I find fascinating. And as a composer, I explore that. So the first point is limitation in music and how I dealt with that. Seeing the freedoms of the 1960s that sort of opened our minds, I found that it's okay, but limitations are essential to me. And the limitation I chose was that of using different scales. This is Brighton. He's our big white guy. He's a big cat. And he says hi to the new audience. Limitations. So I use scale. And then I found that the Chinese system of I Ching, I say I Ching, with its 64 possibilities, actually suggested scales to me. It's a set of 6 lines. Each line is either broken or unbroken. To me, it's suggesting whole tones unbroken and half tones, half steps broken. And then I really started doing this about 1980, exploring the I Ching as a musical system. And by about 1983 or 84, I realized that, for example, the hexagram, the set of 6 lines, this 6 broken lines would be, in the first system I used, would be C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp. So it's only half an octave, just a chromatic scale, half an octave. That's a weird limitation. And then I looked at the scales in northern India, and they're all separated by a fifth. So if it's C as the fundamental, G then is the dominant. So that same hexagram of 6 half steps would be C, C sharp, D, D sharp, and then G, G sharp, A, B flat. All the scales are 8 tones. Some of them might go C up to C sharp and then down to C as a flat 9 kind of thing, when there's 3 solid lines in the dominant. So a lot of my music is written using these scales, and the system I've adopted in now it's scales version 5, and I'm pretty confident that that's the one I'm going to stick with the rest of my life. I'm pretty confident it's correct. It's following this circle. If you can see that. The Xiaoyong circle circles the square in the center. And at the top is that hexagram I mentioned, 6 broken lines. And at the bottom, 6 solid lines. So in a way, this represents winter, or winter solstice, and this represents summer solstice. So in a way, this could be a year cycle. But I have fixed tonics for each of these. It starts in F, where F, where A equals 432, F is the minor third to that. Excuse me, major third to that, where A equals 432. So then they're each tuned microtonally so that there's one set of 64 scales in an octave. And I have a lot of recordings that I've done of I Ching cycles, where it cycles through that whole set microtonally. Usually most of the cycles rise, so it's about 1/5 of a half step per hexagram. The patterns are fascinating. It's a lifetime of exploration, and I'm just beginning after some 40 years of using this. I found it fascinating. I already said that. Fascinating. The other thing I want to get into in these videos, that I hope to do one a week, is my concept of beauty. I asked a composer that I worked with just this last weekend, like, what is your concept of beauty? And he said it's somewhere between woodwind chorales and powerful percussion, which really didn't say much to me, because I found it a lot of randomness in his stuff. Fascinating use of electronics with orchestra, but a little confusing. This old doorknob, you can see it. 6-sided doorknob with a handcrafted 6-sided flower that would have been fastened on the other side. It was probably a cabinet door handle. This part looks machine made, but the doorknob is obviously handmade. Maybe by someone that makes like $25 an hour full time making doorknobs for his entire living, or at least for years at a time. It's not perfect. It's 6-sided. I would guess it's handmade, and then fitted into the machine part, and then I bet it was done by a cabinet maker in the craftsman style. I would guess this is from the 20s, but I still would say this is craftsman style. Handmade, artistically done. It's just not just the normal cabinet doorknob. There's some humanity to this doorknob. Slightly irregular, and it's beautiful. So that's my first video. I think this is a good point to leave it. A quick introduction to I Ching in music. The start of a discussion about beauty. Oh, and I did want to go through this. I prepared this. All my CDs are online. My website is I-Ching-music.com. You could probably find it by going I Ching Music and run that on, because I think I have subdomains. You can find Burdick, horn, music, probably in the Google search if you do that, or DuckDuckGo search. But since COVID hit, I have released, not all of them recorded during the COVID time since March of 2020, but I am slow at releasing sometimes. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18 CDs have been released. I'm not very good at publicity, except for maybe right now. Backwards. This is the one I'm going to release. This is just a single. In response to Julius Eastman, A Lake of Violet Flames for 4 pianos and percussion. That's CD 66 for a very good reason. Here we go. CD 46, A Rainbow of I Ching Triads. The picture is from Glacier National Park. We took a hike and ended up hiking in the rain. And the rainbow came out. So that's that one. I have it here. CD 47, I Ching Rhythms Opus 209 for 4 horns. That's an I Ching cycle. CD 48, Giovanni Gastoldi. Very late Renaissance, early Baroque kind of stuff. Really nice music. With the picture of a building in Seattle that I took. This is arranged for horn choir, duets and motets. CD 49, brass music. I spent a lot of time with this last summer of 2020, when I was kind of locked down. I recorded all the brass music that I've written for brass quintet, brass sextet. There's a couple of really nice pieces on CD 49. CD 50 is the continuation of that. I titled it The Art of Me, The Art of Richard O. Burdick, because my first record I was ever given was The Art of Dennis Brain. And I thought that's kind of nice. And the subtitle more Burdick's Brass. Microtonal I Ching cycle, so that's just playing on the microtonal aspect of the cycle that I use. It takes a long time to tune all those. CD 52, found these two. I have a CD titled Found, I forget the number, which is stuff I found on the web. There's a free site of domain-free music. No, that's not right. Copyright free. It's older than the copyright. So I found these two, more of the same. Early music, well, 19th century music mostly, plus something of mine. This one features my music, my French horn quartets. I love French horn quartets. 4 horns from low to high. It's an incredible range this instrument that I play has. John Harbison, famous American composer. I might disagree with the reasons he got a Genius Grant, but that's pretty nice of a composer to get a $400,000 Genius Grant as a young composer. Very helpful for one's career. CD 54, the 270s. This refers to the Opus numbers. My Opus 242 that was commissioned by the Saskatchewan Arts Board, the Mind set for 9 players, was written in a way that each of the 4 movements could be split into parts. And it was a standard or strict form where it started with all 9 players, and then it went to, I think it was 8, and I forget who's missing. And then part 4, I remember, is a cello clarinet duet, and then there's a horn and 3 cellos, the quartet, and then there's clarinet, horn, 3 cellos, a quintet. So the individual sections of each movement then I extracted, because I used the same ensemble, and made separate pieces, plugging them in a different way. So that one work actually created 10 compositions. So this is the chamber versions of the Mindset Opus 242. And it's great. It's just some really touching, wonderful music. It has the big clarinet solo movement and some overlapping tonalities, but overall very uplifting. And after the brass quintet stuff I did midsummer or summer 2020, I started working on duets. CD 55, Burdick's duets. I wrote a bunch of new ones, and I really like, I think it's Opus 289, horn and viola. There are duets with French horn and another instrument, like oboe horn, clarinet horn, which is very popular. I tried to do all the instruments. I forget if I have tuba and horn. I guess I do. Didn't do saxophones. That's yet to come. I'm starting to explore saxophone. CD 55, Burdick's duets. I like this. CD 56, I don't recommend it. I priced it really high on Bandcamp because you can hear enough by just hearing the sample. Particles is the sequel to CD 28. CD 56 and 28, that relationship, 2 times. Waves of CD 28. This is in Scales version 4, where each tone was micro-tuned, and it was so much work and so weird that I moved on from that fairly quickly. Where you take the cycle, the circle, and if the tonic is here, then you go to count 4 over, that's the next note, or if it's whole step 9 over, or 8 over, depending on how you count it. So then the tuning of that became the tuning of the scale tone, and it became ridiculously hard to create anything because of everything had to be tuned. Okay, 57. Piano music, waves, relentless, and other piano music. These are more I Ching cycles. I have plenty more to explore. CD 58, my I Ching music publishing. There's a few major works that I publish. So CD 58 is bringing those out, hopefully more into the public view. Music we publish. CD 59. I just did a video about Motor 124875, and there's a new demo, fairly new. CD 59, A Walk with Giants, Opus 300, is based on a dream that I had where I was actually walking and talking to like beings that were 16 or 18 feet high, and it was amazing. And so this is another I Ching cycle, and it's like 64 little subjects that I talked with the giants about. And conversationally, very interesting. And then other things, 4 minutes and 33 seconds to the moon, just goofing around with tape sounds, sliding around, expanding them. I find it very interesting. There's so much to do. C60, more American horn music. I have a few CDs of American horn music. This one has my own, John Grass, Ulysses K., who I hate to say the color of his skin, William Presser, and Alec Wilder. So that's traditionally and nice stuff. And CD 61, Vortex breathing, based on something Esther Hicks said about the way to focus and relax. Breathing in 3 long beats and breathing out 5. That's what that's all about. And then I Ching chants. It's kind of weird. My wife hated it. I don't mind because it's really weird. And then CD 62, the mindset complete in the 4 movements and not the subdivisions of the little movements. CD 63 and 64 are done, not released. CD 65 I'm recording right now has Beethoven and natural horn. I'm back to natural horn finally. I think a lot of people like my natural horn playing. So there it is. 18 minutes of an introduction of Richard O. Burdick, composer and French hornist. Thanks for watching today.